Let's see if it works.
I can move this down and up. Try that. Does that sound good?
Well, let's see if we can get a stream going. All right, that's us. We are live. Aren't you excited?
I am. Good morning.
So, let's double check to make sure. It says we're offline on X, and we're going to look. We're going to look. Because we should be.
It says we're live, though.
Yeah, it doesn't say we're live on the things I want to be live on.
Oh, we're frozen. Oh, no, we're behind. That's what it is.
Yeah, the stream's going to be a little bit behind.
That's fine.
Oh, there we go. All right, now we should be going live on Rumble and X at the same time. Okay, now we should be live on X. There we are.
Awesome.
We are live.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, this is our first live stream. We're waiting for Rumble to catch up. It's sending data at the moment. So let me make sure once that goes live. See if it says it's live. It says we're live on Rumble.
Awesome.
Cool. So let's get started. First live stream. We're using, sorry, my phone is apparently still on Rumble even though I turned it off.
Oh, so
There you go. Sorry. We're going to hear ourselves again and again if we don't turn that off. So we are live, which is nice. That's kind of cool. We're going to keep on playing with this. So the chat thing's not coming up on Restream yet. But we'll get there. So what are we going to talk about today? Oh, I should probably bring that up so you can see.
probably the biggest thing that's happened this week, over and over and over, and everybody's talking about.
Yes, but
And
we've got some topics. We've got
that's Cory Booker.
Oh yeah, that's what everybody's talking about. We got tariffs, some more tariffs, and then other tariffs, and then other more different tariffs,
And then other tariffs that have not got to be a tariff because they come and talk to us and said, we won't do tariffs.
And then you got fraud at Social Security.
Yep.
You got Signal. Something. What's Signal? Is that about how much signal you can get from something?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. Yeah.
And
exactly.
then a random story that I saw that will get your opinion is about a man was arrested for leaving his kids for 2 hours at a McDonald's.
I saw that story.
And then Israel and Ukraine. Will it ever end? I think that's a sigh of maybe. But we'll get there.
Yes, we'll
So,
get there.
We have a sponsor for today.
Oh, we do.
Yeah. My business. So, Walston Bookkeeping, we're an accounting firm that focuses on helping businesses put their information together so they actually can make decisions and see where they're at. We're more than bookkeepers. We're accountants because we actually know how accounting works and don't just code transactions. Correct. So, if you need help, I'll throw that in the description and you can check us out. Also, that's the office we're using. So,
That is true.
all right. As my dad keeps on trying to fix my spelling on Israel.
It's because
I
it's
put
Israel.
the A and the E backwards.
Yes.
Because, whatever. Let's get on to tariffs. So, the question. Who tariffed who first?
I don't think that's a real question. I think
It's not a
there's a
real
statement
question?
of fact that it wasn't us.
It wasn't us, you sure?
Yes. And it's been going on for years. NAFTA was supposed to solve that with Mexico and Canada, but it didn't. I mean, the best thing that I've heard this week is if tariffs were so bad, why do other countries put them on our goods?
Correct.
And so it's crazy to look at like Vietnam's tariffs. 90%?
Oh, yeah, there's some. So, a couple of things with the tariff list, and people are annoyed about it. They're like, those aren't the actual tariffs people are putting on us. The problem is we don't live in a free trade world. And so there's I think 3 main ways countries make trade unequal. 1, tariffs. Simple, easy.
Yep.
They just say, if you're going to bring goods here, we charge you X dollar. Number 2 way is to subsidize goods created in their country. So if it costs $20 to make something, happens a ton in China. What the Chinese government will do is they'll pay $10 per item, and so it only costs $10 to make it.
Yep.
And then they'll ship it to us. So that's an unfair trade practice where they're just spending and wasting money to try to destroy our manufacturing.
Yep.
And then the 3rd way is what they'll do is they'll ship goods to other countries to get around trade.
Yeah, so that won't be originating from China. It'll be originating from Botswana. I don't know.
Well, and that's why this weird story came out that Trump tariffed an island that's full of just penguins. That is a disingenuous lie, because just because no one lives there doesn't mean goods don't come from there.
Right.
And goods do come from there. That's where a lot of fishing comes from. And so that is literally where the goods come from, and it's weird. People are dumb.
Well, it's a formula. And so what Trump has been trying to do is, with taking into account all 3 of those things, he's trying to calculate a rough equivalency between those 3 things that they're putting on and what our tariff should be in reciprocal.
Correct.
So for an example, China, our reciprocal tariff is only 34%, but if you look, it says 67%, and there's some reasons for that, but we don't need to go into. So you're getting Vietnam. There's a 90% tariff, but we're only doing 46%. But they've already come to Trump and said, we will go to 0 tariffs.
Oh, and this other one here, Israel,
they went to 0.
They did have tariffs on U.S. goods.
Mm-hmm.
So it's there's 2 things Trump's doing with this. 1, negotiating.
Yes, that's
and
the
2,
big thing.
he is going to just have tariffs on countries.
Yeah.
Because I think reciprocal tariffs is smart. You put a tariff on us, we put a tariff on you.
Correct.
No.
And for an example, the other thing that I know that he's looking at as well is he's reducing the student population and a couple of other in a similar way. If I can't come as an American citizen to your country and work, well, then you can't come to my country and work. And
unless you actually become a U.S. citizen.
Yes, and that's going to be a fantastic thing.
Yeah, it is very good.
Especially for tech workers.
So, you can see on here all the different things. They put a bunch of them out of all the different tariffs.
And some are surprising, because some I didn't.
Well, you assume that there's fair trade.
Yeah.
And
well, like Israel, we give Israel
not.
so much money, which that's a different debate whether we should or not. But we give Israel so much money.
Mm-hmm.
And they still have a 33% tariff on basically everything that ships in there.
Correct.
I mean, it's equivalent of. That's insane.
It is insane. It is insane. Yeah. And the joke's been made about Nike. Yeah. They moved all their manufacturing from China to Vietnam.
Yep.
And now they're getting tariffed again. And why don't you just make them in the U.S.?
Well, because you don't have to follow the rules.
Yeah, slave
in
labor.
Those countries. That's the issue. Is you don't have to follow the rules.
So, you can see this chair over here. Oh no, it got moved,
it's out of
so
the
you
way.
can't see it anywhere. But if you listened to last couple weeks episode, you realized that I was just me, and so my dad had knee surgery, and it's still working, and he has a new knee, so he's a bionic man now.
I have more titanium in me than before. How about that?
It's true. It's true. So we got some other things. Let me see if I can get this to work for audio, and we'll listen to this, because I think there's a couple good
points he makes.
Yes.
Yep.
That, and I think it's just Stephen Miller is a great asset for Trump's administration,
because he's very articulate.
So let me get this turned. It is working. Look at that. Okay.
Dollar trade deficit. Can someone explain to me? We protect and defend South Korea, And in exchange, they steal our automobile industry, they steal our electronics industry. Yep. We protect and defend Japan, and in exchange, they close their market to our cars. We protect and defend Canada, and they run up a massive trade deficit with us. We protect and defend all of Europe at a cost of trillions of dollars over time, and what do? They run an over $300 billion trade deficit with the United States. Why should America protect the world, send foreign aid to the world, defend the world, provide for the world, and in exchange, get ripped off by every other country in the world? And what do we have to show for it? The deindustrialization of the heartland, the destruction of the American dream, the eradication of our industrial and manufacturing base that we need for our national security, and the crushing of the American dream. It has to stop, not to mention $36 trillion in debt.
So he makes a very good point. We have been the policemen of the world.
Well, one of the things that has been pointed out to me lately is most people don't know our history at all, and world history at all, which is not shocking.
There's a couple things that go into that. One is the world history taught in schools isn't actually accurate. Yeah. And then two, people don't pay attention.
And so what happened after World War II is that the reason we have the ability to ship goods internationally is because the U.S. Navy is protecting the entirety of the oceans and will go after countries or individuals, pirates, that attempt to take over. Now, we slipped on that a bit, so there's this whole one area on southern Africa that's pirate corridor, but that's the only reason everything's be able to be shipped back and forth. Oil, for an example, wouldn't be able to be shipped back and forth.
Nope.
Any form of goods.
Yeah, we are the protectors of the world.
Of the world, literally.
Oceans.
Yeah, and we're bringing. Even though these people in like Vietnam are only making, I don't know, $2 an hour or $2 a day, it doesn't matter what it is. The only reason they can make that is because
we protect the shipping lanes.
Yes, we protect the shipping lanes. And so I agree with his point here is we get ripped off. And he left off one point that I would like to put up there.
Well, we got another video to watch, but maybe he'll get to it. Go for it.
And that is our politicians have ripped us off.
Oh, 100%. We have the most corrupt one, not the most corrupt. I can't say that. We have one of the most corrupt governments in the world. And they're in it for themselves and no one else. Yep. So let me see. Charlie Kirk posted this interview that it's 18 minutes long, but we'll see how far we get.
I'll linger on this for a second. Why is it important to do this, to institute tariffs, to rethink trade?
I think you have to start with the proposition, has the system failed? And to me, it's an emphatic yes. I think of it in sort of two ways. One,
if you haven't listened
if you think of the way trade is supposed to work, you're supposed to export in order to import that, and then you get the benefit of trade. You get you do what you do best, I do what I do best, or I do what you do less best.
Right.
You export, we import, and we get the benefit. We both have higher standards of living. That's not really it's evolved to. It's evolved to now where you have a few countries, the United States being the biggest, that have an open capital system and an open trading system, and other countries have an industrial policy that is designed not to increase the standard of living of their citizens, but to gain wealth. So what they're trying to do is get wealth in order to get assets in the United States, in order to get technology, in order to get all these kind of things that make you wealthy. So I think of the kind of failure points as being, one, because this system doesn't work, we have this giant transfer of wealth from the United States overseas, and that is in the form of trade deficits. And the way the system is supposed to work, no one.
For a second. So he sets it up, I think, absolutely correct.
Yes.
And our politicians have not been remiss on this; they've been complicit, and there's a difference. Instead of ignoring it, and that's being remiss and just not understanding and going, they've actually encouraged this behavior and actually made money off this behavior.
Yes, they have.
And I don't know if we need to watch the 18 minutes because
we're not going to watch the whole thing.
It will. Please watch this, guys, because it explains the importance of what Trump is attempting to do. He's the first how do I put this? Because he is political, but he's not tied to a political party. He's taken over the traditional
Correct.
standard
He's
Republican Party.
for the last 100 years or so, we've been run by politicians. He is not a politician.
Well, he is a politician, but at the same time, he's not of either party, and that's why he was a Democrat, and that's why he became a Republican to take over the party and change the direction.
Correct.
And so watch this. We'll have the links up. Take a gander. Go to Tucker. You can watch this for free online.
Yeah, he's got an hour plus long interview
And
with this guy. It's really interesting.
it's important to get educated on this because yes, our stock market is going down, but
Well, we'll get there in a second. I want to concentrate on this.
Yep.
So he goes on to say in this section, because I listened to the whole interview, that the goal of like China, Vietnam, or these other countries absolutely is not to help the middle and lower class.
yeah,
They do not care about them at all. The whole goal is to gain wealth for the upper class and use the lower classes to do the manufacturing and stuff so they can pull wealth out of the U.S. It has nothing to do with helping the lower classes. Correct. Unlike the U.S., which would like to help the lower class. And not lower class, but usually has been about the middle class.
it's trying to have the U.S. traditionally, and I'd say we've lost this in the last probably 20 years, understands that you have to have a large middle class
Yes.
to support and have a good economy.
Yeah.
And we've shifted now to this. You have a larger lower class and you have a larger upper class in the U.S. And that's a recipe for disaster. And so that's what he's pointing out, is that these countries, all they care about is traditional elitism. The elites are wealthy and the poor, and you have very, very few in the middle.
Yeah, they
Very,
really
very
don't
few.
exist in these type of countries. So we're going to circle back about the stock market a little bit, but I have to say I am very disappointed in Rand Paul and three other ones I don't care about, because it's Chuck Schumer, Lisa Murkowski, and Susan Collins. Those three, they're not Republicans. they're terrible. But Rand Paul is a pretty good guy most of the time, except for he voted with the Senate Democrats against a resolution to block Trump's tariffs on Canada. And he's lost a lot of my respect because of it. Like, a lot of it.
Yeah.
And it's very disappointing.
I just wonder, looking at him.
You right-clicked and stuff.
Yeah, it did. I just wonder. I mean, I understand standing for principles. I do. And in general, if we were to put a tariff on a country that didn't have tariffs on us, that would actually raise the prices of the goods in America. That
Yes.
actually would.
Yes, it would.
But if we put a reciprocal tariff on the country, it doesn't do that, because it won't do that.
Well, and his preposition is wrong. There is no such thing as free trade.
Correct. Especially
like-
between our southern and northern border.
No, because free trade means that all countries don't have tariffs and don't do anything to manipulate trade.
Yes. Right.
And that is absolutely untrue. Every country
Protects
does it. Even
what
the
they should.
U.S. does it. Some.
Yes.
I mean, we subsidize products. We do some of that stuff as well. So there's no such thing as free trade. So you can't come at it from I love free trade, we should get rid of all trade barriers. If you do that, you get taken advantage of, because China specifically did that. You have it's in a world filled with good actors, removing barriers is a great thing.
So no humans.
Yeah.
A world filled with
But
no
in
humans.
a world full of China, who has explicitly stated their goal is to destroy America's manufacturing, free trade means it's easier for them to do that.
Yeah.
And they have been. And so doing crap like this, it's just...
The principle of free trade is great as a philosophical principle.
It is.
But
why would you vote to take away
Yeah.
a legitimate power that the executive has?
Yeah.
With Democrats who hate him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I don't
Just
get
makes
it.
me disappointed.
I mean, sadly, I don't think I'd ever say this before. All four of those Republicans, so-called Republicans, need to be primaried.
Yep, I agree. I agree. All right. So before we get on to stock market stuff, I wanted to point out and reiterate, here are the tariffs that Canada has on the U.S. They have a 270% tariff on milk, 245% tariff on cheese, 298% tariff on butter, 238% tariff on chicken, 163% tariff on eggs, 94% tariff on wheat, 57% tariff on barley seed, 26% tariff on bovine meat, and 69% tariff on sausages, which is weird.
Weird, but yeah.
And then, in addition, for Mexico, they have a 5 to 15% tariff on corn, 10 to 20 on pork, 15% on soybeans. It depends on the things. Dairy and cheese, 15 to 45%, beef, 20 to 25%, poultry, 75 to 100%, and wheat, 0 to 10, steel, 15 to 25, aluminum, 10 to 20, vehicles, 20%.
Okay, so the one thing that gets me about all of these is the last one.
All of the vehicles.
Yeah, because we ship in all of our vehicles from Mexico now.
Yep.
Except Teslas. They're built in the U.S., but we ship them in. And it just, 20, so here's the issue too with a lot of these tariffs, just out, you don't know how much it is. So that's why the calculation is different.
Yeah, it's frustrating because people constantly say how this is terrible, and they just don't know anything. They just don't know anything at all. They just read headlines, and it's just disappointing because we are being ripped off by our allies.
Yeah.
And
our so-called allies.
I'm with Rand Paul. Let's do free trade. Them too.
Yes.
But if they don't do it, then we won't either.
And this is the only way to force actually free trade is because
Correct.
if you have a reciprocal tariff, then it becomes balanced. It may not be called free trade, but it's balanced trade.
Yeah. So let's talk about the stock market. There's some numbers I wanted to bring up, but you can tell us what you think about what's going on there. What do you think it's a bad thing? What's happening in the stock market? I mean, you own stock and you're closer to retirement than I am.
It's painful to watch. And this is also painful to watch.
Shh. They can't see it, so it's fine. All right.
So some interesting statistics here, which is...
All right, let me pull this up. Actually, I just hit a button. All right, so this is, I think, an important thing to point out. Of the 162 million Americans, only 62% of U.S. adults own stock. And that isn't much. Like, the majority of stock is owned by the top 1%.
All right.
The bottom 50% of U.S. adults hold 1% of the stocks. So guess what? This is an 80-20 issue.
It is.
If you didn't know, this is an 80-20 issue. The majority of Americans don't give a hoot about the stock market crashing.
Correct.
What do they care about?
Well, it's not correct. Okay.
It's not
Let's
crashing.
correct this.
That's
it's not crashing.
That's true.
So
It's
let's
not
talk.
correct.
We can spin to that as well.
Let me
It's
open up
the
another
other
one.
thing
I'll
that,
find one.
and this includes, I believe, this also includes people with 401ks.
Yes.
So still, the top 50%.
Don't own stocks.
Well, they do in their 401ks, and so if you threw out 401ks, I wonder what it would be. But anyhow, it doesn't matter.
Oh, I can figure that out in a
no,
little
it
bit.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
What was the one you wanted me to pull up?
Well, I brought it on. I asked Grok this.
Okay.
And because I wanted to compare what everybody, the stock market crash of 2008. Okay. And I wanted to compare today's stock market because everybody was talking about how the market's been crashing. And I wanted to compare it to 2008's crash. So in 2008, the stock market dropped 56%, basically in a week.
Yep.
And so today, our stock market, the S&P 500, and that's we're talking about the S&P 500, it would have to drop 3,400 points plus a little bit to match the 2008 drop. That's a huge drop.
Yes, that is a
and we
huge
have
drop.
not come anywhere near it. We're 1-2% here, back and forth.
Yeah, we're not even close to that. big
We're
of a
not
drop.
close to that.
So you asked about this. I figured it out. Well, Grok figured it out. It's from the Pew Research Center that did a study in 2019. Approximately only 35% of U.S. adults personally own stock.
Yeah, and so 50%. That means if 50% is own stock, that means the 25% of the 50 is just 401k
Correct.
ownership. It's not actually I went out and I opened a Fidelity account or a Robinhood and went out and bought Tesla stock.
Yeah.
It's not that. So, and most people realize that our 401ks or our IRAs or whatever we're invested in, it's long term.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the other thing is the rich love it when the stock market does this.
Because they buy a bunch.
Yep. Everything's on sale.
Yep,
Let's buy
everything's on
more.
sale, and that's what you're supposed to. Sorry.
So, yeah, it's ridiculous because what really matters is the price of goods and interest rates. And Jerome Powell should be fired because interest rates should be at 0 now, but they're not yet. But the price of goods has dropped. Have you seen the price of oil?
Yeah.
No, it's the lowest level since 2010 or something like that.
Yeah. It's still not
It's
doing
insane.
what it ought to be, but yes.
So goods prices will be dropping in the next couple of weeks because the cost of transport, if you didn't know, everything in the U.S. is transporting with gasoline or diesel.
Yes.
So the cost of transport is going to drop, and that's going to cause the cost of goods to drop. And guess what? The people who don't own stocks, that's what they care about.
That's right. And eggs have dropped. Price
They
of
have.
eggs.
You have. Now, people are annoyed about how he got them to drop, which is silly. But do you know how he got the price of eggs to drop?
I can't remember.
Importation.
Yeah, he imported a bunch of eggs. Yeah.
So
And that's
they
because
still haven't been able to regrow all the chickens that Biden had killed.
Yes, exactly.
They were smart enough to be like, hey, we've got allies around the world. Can we ask them to give us eggs? And they said yes.
It did. Yep.
So it's just makes sense. All right. So the next story is about fraud. What kind of fraud? Social Security fraud.
This because I'm close to retirement age, this really irritates the living daylights out of me.
Yeah.
Is I won't be able to get the amount that I paid in back
No.
because of this.
Yep. So there's what's interesting about this and what's annoying about this as well is people are still raging against Doge because like there's not fraud, blah blah blah. Before Trump was elected, the CBO, was it the CBO? I don't remember who it was. One of the government agencies said there was about $80 billion of fraud in Social Security.
Yeah, it would be the CBO.
It's 80 billion.
Yeah.
And that's without them looking into it.
Yeah, that's just an estimate.
That's just their estimate.
They were just, oh yeah, we think it's about.
And so this year, 40% of calls to Social Security are fraudsters. Yep. And that's why when Elon shut down the ability to call in and change payments,
Yeah.
it was a very, very good thing.
Well, and then they just found almost 5 million illegals that Biden's department gave Social Security numbers to and signed them up to vote, and they actually voted.
Yep.
And so that needs to be looked into, and some people need to start. And I think people will start going to prison, but it's just you have to build a case and all this. You have to
do the legal thing, which is
Yeah.
annoying because our legal system sucks.
but it's good. But you still have to build the case.
Yes.
So and it's what we're finding out is that, and I read somebody who said this that. It wasn't that Social Security was going bankrupt. It was that they were stealing our money.
Yes.
And that's
Well, I
literally
mean, it's
what
going to
it
go
was.
bankrupt too because there's population collapse coming to the U.S. Yeah. It's much slower than other countries, but we're almost below replacement rate.
Yeah.
And since Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, you have to have more young people than there are retired people. So at some point, it will go bankrupt. But by fixing fraud, that'll extend that a long way.
So I might get Social Security for 1 year instead of none.
Well, I'm not getting any, so.
No, I agree.
Yeah. And then the dead people, too.
Yeah.
Their defense against that was they're like, we found that the dead people were on there. We knew about that back in Biden's administration. Yeah, but did you do anything about it?
Correct.
No, you didn't. And
the question,
Elon found out that because dead people were on there, people were able to use the dead Social Security numbers to get SBA loans.
Yes.
So just because you knew they were dead and they shouldn't have been on there doesn't mean it fixed the problem.
Correct.
It didn't.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's insane.
It's insane.
People are crazy.
Yep.
All right, so what's our next topic? What next topic do we have here? Oh, yeah. Signal. Do you hear a signal? I don't know if I hear a signal. Do you hear a signal? This is the weirdest controversy I've seen. So, first off, if you didn't know what this was or don't know what Signal is a encrypted chat app.
Correct.
That auto deletes text messages after a set amount of time.
Correct.
So, should I do a full explanation?
No, but the simple thing, it got approved in the Biden administration to
Yes,
be
it did.
used on government phones.
Correct.
It is by default installed on government phones.
Correct.
You can set up a group in it of people to chat with. So what happened was, and I think it was done as I think it was done on purpose. It had to have been done on purpose. They added
Yes.
a so-called reporter of the lamestream media to the chat
Yep.
of Pete Hegseth and his group talking about taking out the Houthi pirates,
Houthi pirates, yeah.
or whoever pronounce it. Yeah, Houthi. And then he stayed in this chat instead of leaving the chat and realizing he shouldn't have been in there. He took screenshots and all sorts and published the chats.
Yep.
Now, nothing, as if you read Hegseth, nothing in there was
Classified.
and you can read the chat and you can find out it wasn't classified. It was general stuff. We're going to start this now. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it was nothing specific. Nobody got injured by it.
Nope.
And it became this big thing for about 3 days.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of conspiracy theories around it. The biggest theory is it was on purpose.
Yeah. I think it's
Was it on purpose by the Trump admin, or was it purpose by Mike Walls? If it was on purpose by Mike Walls and the Trump admin didn't know about it, Mike Walls is a traitor. If the Trump administration knew about it, then he's not. But in addition, I was listening to a journalist who goes and does stuff in war zones and stuff, or at least he used to. And he pointed out that this is actually normal. They will invite journalists into these types of meetings so that they have information and it can observe what's going on in the government.
Yeah.
And so it's just false outrage for no reason. So if you didn't know it was false outrage for no reason, I'm here to tell you that it is false outrage for no reason.
And yeah, it's anyhow. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's absolutely false.
Yeah. And then this was the point I want to make sure we got to, is that, yes, it was approved by the Biden administration.
Yeah. So it's
complete.
And the
bull
funny
crap.
part about it is it's a company that made this app, and we don't, as a government, our government does not have something equivalent. So they have to use it. They have to use a third-party thing because we don't have anything that's as secure.
Yep.
But anyhow.
Well, that's the private market does things better than the government. So, all right. This is a change. This is a change in topic.
Correct.
But I think it's an interesting thing to talk about based on our legal system in the U.S. So a man was arrested for leaving his 1, 6, and 10-year-old at a McDonald's alone. Apparently, he said he was going for an interview, but he was gone for 2 hours, and maybe he wasn't going for an interview. And it's kind of split that people actually think he should have gone to prison. And my question to the people who say he should have gone to prison, does that fix the problem?
No.
How does him going to jail fix anything?
The only concern that I would have is the 1-year-old.
Yeah.
The 6 and the 10-year-old, they're old enough to deal with themselves and go to the bathroom by themselves and stuff like that. But the 1-year-old, not so much.
There's a lot of people, though, online saying he deserved to go to jail. It's like he left his kids. The 10-year-old back in your day, and mostly my day, that's normal. A 10-year-old to watch his siblings.
Yeah.
Completely
for
normal.
For a bit of time.
For a bit of time, yeah.
Like I said, not the 1-year-old, but the 6-year-old certainly.
So it's disappointing that we think. So this is my problem, is our justice system and our cops have been trained that the best solution to the problem is a hammer.
Everything's a nail.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Bring it down. Yeah. Throw him in prison. It's like, can't you use your brain at all and be like, oh, we're going to talk to him when he gets back, and we're going to be like, hey, maybe this wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
But we're not going to do anything to you.
Well, it's not about justice. We had this conversation before about other things, but it's not about justice anymore and actually finding out what's correct and good for the kids. Now, maybe he should, because maybe he does this all the time.
Maybe he does.
And if he does, then there's an issue.
Yeah,
now,
but
what's
is
the issue?
Prison going to fix it?
But prison will make it worse.
No. If he's neglecting the children, then take the kids away.
Yeah. So
throwing him in prison doesn't fix anything.
Not at all.
And it just costs the taxpayer money.
And yes.
So, maybe CPS should have taken the kids, maybe not. That's a whole different discussion. They need to do research and make sure that's the proper step.
Correct.
But throwing him in jail, no.
Yeah, you got to get more information. Absolutely.
Correct. So that's my rabbit trail or.
And my buddy trail contribution for this is because of a Tesla and all the cameras, we happen to have an awesome view of a mudslide that occurred this week in Utah.
Yeah.
And so a Tesla truck, a Cybertruck, was driving on one of our highways here in Utah, and watch what happens.
Kind of cool.
And because of the Tesla's
vision and all that stuff, it stopped, if you noticed, before it got into it. And the interesting part about this, he also drove over it in a truck. Well, he's got a Cybertruck. Those are pretty good.
So
did you see the guy using his Cybertruck as a boat?
No.
You can pressurize the battery area and then drive it. And he was just driving it into the lake right by the dock.
That's hilarious. So yeah, this is Tuesday. It happened this Tuesday. It was interesting because of you have these vehicles now with cameras all around you, and you're recording all the time.
Yep.
And so we got this unique view of a actual mudslide, because it is melting up in the mountains in Utah now.
We got lots of snow up in the mountains.
Yeah, and so I thought that was just an interesting little side note.
Yep. And so we'll end it here because we mentioned it in the beginning, but we're not going to talk about it very long. How long do you think the Ukraine and Israeli wars are going to continue?
I think
for?
Israel will be at war perpetually, because the Bible's fairly clear at that. Now, it won't be at war with maybe this group or that group. It'll be something else that they're going after. But Ukraine's going to end.
Yeah.
It will. It's just a matter of time. Somebody tried to assassinate Putin recently this week. I think it was this week or last week, where they blew up his armored car right in front of wherever his office is. And so there's some unrest in Russia that's going to complicate issues.
Yeah.
And so, but I think his approach is correct, which is this needs to stop. People are dying. Millions of people have died.
Correct.
For what? We put this person in, our CIA put this person in place.
Did.
As the leader of Ukraine.
Yep.
We got rid of the Democratic elected leader and put this dictator in place because he is a dictator. He canceled the election. He imprisoned his opponents. He has closed the churches down.
Yeah, he's persecuting Christians really heavily.
And then he's taking 65-year-old men, from their houses and forced them to fight. He's taking 14-year-old boys and forcing them to fight.
Yep.
As cannon fodder. And so it is, I believe Ukraine, Trump's on the right path. It'll end. And it's going to end with some concessions to Russia. So everybody get ready, pull up their pants, get ready. There's going to be concessions to Russia.
Of course there
Russia's
are.
going to get property in the Ukraine.
Of course they are.
And there'll be some, I don't know, justification in Ukraine's mind.
Last question. Why didn't it end right when Trump got into office?
Well, because we actually had a president, not a corpse.
Well, the other thing is Biden's administration did everything in his power to ramp up the war with Russia before Trump took over.
Yes, they did.
So Trump's ability to negotiate peace would have been easier if he hadn't have done that.
Correct. And the Biden administration, like I said, we had a corpse. And no one should ever forget that. The news media lied to us.
Yes.
Congressmen
Constantly.
and congresswomen and senators lied to us for 4 years.
They admitted it too.
And we cannot forget that about what happened with Biden.
Should they be arrested?
I'm sorry?
The people who lied, should they be arrested?
No, they should be out of office.
Oh, that's true. All right. Well, if you liked our live stream, we're going to throw this up on Spotify and other places to listen to audio video versions. But we're going to try to live stream at about 9 a.m. every other Saturday going forward. So like us, subscribe, and
thanks for listening.
Yeah, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Take care.